Professor August here, and I thought I'd pop on to make this little video about my experience being a part-time adjunct faculty member and now a full-time tenure track faculty member. I'm running a little errand, so I thought it was a good time to film this, especially since California just said that they were putting a moratorium on hiring faculty members because the University of California system is preemptively trying to save money with the expectation that the current presidential administration is going to cut funding to the UC system, the California University system. So no new faculty members are getting hired. And it just kind of struck me because I had a very similar experience in 2020 when we moved to California. When we moved here, it was peak COVID, and the University of California system had a hiring freeze. In fact, it wasn't just the university system. There were just a hiring freeze everywhere. Like there were just no jobs. People weren't hiring. And it was hard because for 18 months, I didn't have a teaching job. I had come from Chicago where for years, like 10 years, I had been an adjunct part-time professor. And then I had this expectation. I graduated in 2020 with my PhD. I thought, I'm going to go to California. I'll find a full-time teaching job and I'll be fine. I have my PhD in hand. Everything's going to work out. And it didn't. It didn't work out that way. It took a long time for me to actually get the job that I have now. So I thought, let me tell you a little bit about that. So I got my first part-time teaching job when I think I was 21 or 22. I had just started graduate school in Chicago, and I applied to a local college, and they hired me. They gave me one class per semester, and I was making a whole like $5,000 per class. No, actually, I was making $2,500 per class per semester. So in my first semester of teaching, I made $2,500, which, at the time it was amazing. I was like, I just need 10 of these a year and I'll be totally fine. Well, getting 10 of those courses is quite difficult, actually. So, but I did a good job. They liked me. And, so in the second semester, I was able to take on another class. And so for that full year, I made $5,000 at that college. So I used that as a jumping board to other colleges and universities around me. And I was able to get, at the most, this was like around 2015, 16, 17. I was teaching at 3 different colleges and I was teaching about 10 courses a year. So I was able to make a regular salary, the amount that I would have made had I had a normal full-time job. An adjunct job or a part-time job is really scary, especially in my field, because I teach in the social sciences. So I teach history and ethnic studies, religious studies, language. And so, it's not straight mathematics. And so a lot of times when I teach, especially when I was part-time, I had to just be careful of what I said in class because there was always this fear in the back of my mind that students would have different political opinions or religious opinions. And if a student has a different sort of philosophy in life and they take issue with the course content, they could complain. And that happened a couple of times in my life. And I'll have to make a video about that because, man, those complaints, like I have all the written records, they're just nonsensical. But of course, when it happens and the dean calls you into the office or chair calls you into the office to say like, hey, we need to talk about what happened in your class, it sort of feels like your world is collapsing because it's your income. It's the way that you feed yourself and your family and pay for your apartment. And like, it was traumatic. To say the least. So when I moved to California, I couldn't get a full-time job and I applied to all the local colleges, even for part-time jobs. And in 2020, like towards the end of 2021, I got a part-time job at the current college that I work at. And I loved my colleagues. The dean was fantastic. And the dean at the time, she gave me 2 classes for my first semester and then 3 classes for my second semester. So at that time, my income was like $4,500 per class per semester. So it was a lot more money than in Chicago, but it was still a part-time job. So I still was very concerned about how I carried myself in the classroom to make sure that students were not, getting upset with anything that we were studying. The difference between California and Chicago is in California, especially at this college that I'm at now, we have a union. So there were just layers of protection. So when students would complain and they would say, the course material is biased, or, I don't like the fact that we only spent, 2 weeks on Christianity, but we spent 3 weeks on Judaism. Why did they get the extra week? It's like, okay, like it's not that serious. Like, let's just take a step back. And so there's always layers of protection for me as a faculty member, but still, having come from Chicago, I was still very cognizant of the fact that I could lose my job very quickly, because as a part-timer, part-timers are, the title is adjunct faculty. Adjunct just means supplemental. You're not necessary. And I did kind of feel that way for most of my teaching career, because one wrong move and I could get fired. Like, my contract wouldn't be renewed again. Fast forward to 2022. The college that I'm working at opened up a tenure line full-time track in my field, and I applied to it. And it was a rigorous process. I got hired. It was just the most wonderful thing that happened to me, because at the time, it came with all sorts of benefits that I didn't know about. So, I kind of like knew in my head that full-time faculty had perks that part-time faculty didn't have, but it wasn't real until it actually happened to me. So a full-time tenure track job came with an office, which I've made a video about. You can check that out. It came with a huge salary bump. It comes with benefits and a retirement account, healthcare, and a laptop. Ooh, the laptop was great. When my dean called me to say, you got to go pick up your laptop, I was like, for what? What laptop? And she's like, you have a laptop so you can work. I was like, oh, cool. So I went and got this new MacBook Air that they had for me. So it came with a lot of benefits. And there's also just like contractually, there's a difference between part-time and full-time. Part-timers only teach. Like, that's the job, is you go to campus, you teach, and then you go home. Like, there wasn't even a requirement to hold office hours. As a full-timer, there's a requirement to actually hold office hours and meet with students, and the contract requires service to the campus. So I would spend, I don't know, a couple hours a week just doing stuff on campus to benefit the campus community. So currently, like, I serve on faculty senate. In previous semesters, I was leading a student group, or, sitting on different curriculum committees. You just do things to serve the community. And that's kind of part of the salary structure, is you have to do stuff outside of your teaching. But tenure also means that after a certain period of time, you get tenure. So full-time at our campus is teaching full-time and serving at the college. But also, we get, after 4 years for me, the full title as a tenured faculty member, which means, on top of having a union protecting me, tenure basically means a job for life, unless there's some like catastrophic economic collapse. The job is mine for as long as I want it. And that is really important because of academic freedom. So in the classroom, I get to teach the way that I want to teach. I get to teach the materials that I think are suited for our courses, and our content is geared and shaped the way that I think is most effective, without fear of, a student coming to me, or a dean, or anybody coming into my classroom and saying, actually, you should do it this way and not the way that you're doing it. And so I'm really looking forward to that. Like, I'll say this up front, like, already I feel protected from, any problems, because the university or the college is really supportive of faculty. But just that difference in mindset, getting that tenure, is going to make a huge difference to me personally. But man, I'm looking at the news just recently with what's going on in California, putting a freeze on hiring. And it just really struck me, because I've been there. I know how hard it is. And I work really, really hard to get to where I am. And I'm looking at friends, people who just moved to California, peers who are graduating, or who just graduated, and they had high hopes for finding jobs in the Midwest, or on the East Coast, or here on the West Coast. And those jobs are quickly disappearing. The job market in academia was already bad. And now, with all of the attacks on academia and education, it's becoming even harder. And so I count myself really, really lucky to have settled here. And I'm in my 3rd year of the tenure process at my college. I have 1 more year to go. And all of my colleagues who I've been working with are super supportive and helpful, like navigating that process. And yeah, I feel for everybody who is a part-timer who's going to lose their jobs, and people who are expecting full-time jobs and aren't going to get them. I hope this is like a short period of time and we move beyond this pretty quickly, but it's getting worse in our fields, and I don't really have much of a solution to it because it's not really in our control. These are things that are happening at the federal level that are then affecting the states, and the states are then making decisions that affect us who are just, normal people living our lives. We're not living these extravagant multi-million dollar lives. We're just trying to get through the day, and it's becoming harder and harder. So I don't know. I hope this was an explanation that is helpful to people who want to understand the difference between part-time and full-time, and why I'm so excited to get tenure finally. Anyways, all right, I am at my location, so I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe below. Catch you in the next video.